introduce the show?
Yes.
I would like you to introduce the show. I'm personally requesting you. I need to hear you. Need this in my earlobes.
This is it's gonna be off the cuff and slower, and maybe more from the heart. This is the Photographer Mindset Podcast, a podcast where we talk about a lot of photography things and content creation, but we always try to tie it into a healthy and balanced mindset. We think that that is a very important aspect to jumping into this game, the game of content creation, of social media, of creating business, of starting a business, of trying to deal with rejection, trying to deal with successes, trying to build upon your victories and learn from your mistakes. It's all part of the game. And that's what we try to focus on. You can find our show on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and the visuals are on YouTube. So if you haven't checked those out, please check some of those out and leave some reviews, subscribe so you don't miss stuff. That helps us out, especially if you're a fan of the show and you're like, hey, I listen to this, all the time, and I don't really follow them, I don't think. Go check, please. It's a little ask, and it helps us tremendously. So without further ado, I would like to introduce you to my co-host, Seth Macy.
Hi. I felt like I was listening to an audiobook.
Can we put really nice piano music under that?
There's something about you. You always just want to put piano music under nicely done monologues.
I love it. It's my favorite.
What about like heavy metal, black metal?
Okay. All right.
But that was very well said. And I think that
thanks.
encapsulates the show. And today I think we've got a unique, interesting episode. After a while, after close to 300 episodes, you have to take different shavings of the same topic and try and spin them in different ways, because I think realistically, the amount of things you can talk about are finite. We're not saying we're running out of ideas. We're just trying to not be too redundant, especially for those of you who listen to like 12 episodes in a row on a road trip. Because I know a few people like that, and I go, oh my God, we got to space out some of the topics. You might be sick and tired of hearing the same thing over the course of your drive.
Yeah.
So I think today we're going to do how to turn unpaid work into paid work, playing the long game, playing the game as you call it, striking the balance between not giving away the farm when it's perhaps the right thing to do to go above and beyond, and some, I think, sheer guidance on this topic, because there's a lot of thoughts on this floating in the ether on Instagram, on YouTube, and we're going to join that scramble of thoughts in the ether. If you agree with them and you feel like it's reasonable advice, feel free to execute on it and report back. Maybe we have no idea what we're doing. But we're speaking from anecdote, we're speaking from experience, and we're going to hopefully try and clear up some of the confusion or the contradicting concepts that are out there. I think the biggest one that people struggle with with the whole free work thing is how much is appropriate for me to do based on the fact that this time around I'm earning $0, perhaps because I have no portfolio, perhaps because I'm brand new to this. I'd like to be getting paid nicely in the future. Whether that's a year from now, 3 weeks from now, I don't know how fast you work. I don't know what your ambition is. But I think people really struggle with, okay, do I go full out, smashing through walls, delivering as many things as I can as possible? Or do I do the bare minimum when the work is free? I'll stop. Go.
Wow, my turn. I think a lot of the hardship in this concept or this idea is fear based. So I want to make sure I touch upon that at least at some point. I don't know if I'm going to lead with that, but I do think starting off, first of all, let's define, I think, free work and who this applies to. I think there's two different camps here. I think if you're just starting off with photography and maybe you get to a point where you feel like, okay, I feel good. I feel confident and competent and good enough to start offering my skill to people, whether it's for portraits, Airbnbs, real estate photography, product photography, food photography, wedding photography, whatever it may be. There comes a point where you go from never thinking about getting paid to maybe thinking about getting paid. Maybe it's because people keep asking you for portraits for free, friends and family, and you keep doing this for free. Maybe it is a friend that's getting married and they're like, we know you take pictures. Would you mind doing this as your wedding gift? Things like that. I think it starts to pop up where, people are looking for my services, even if it's, your parents, your sister, your brother, your cousins, whatever it may be, friends. People start looking for your services. They wouldn't probably look for your services if they didn't think that you were competent and capable of delivering decent things. So that's kind of a check mark, I think, where people start thinking about this. Now, from that point, maybe you start throwing out some tentacles to different companies or prospects or clients or whatever it may be, and you're trying to offer your services. I think there's a first step that's important there, and that's having proof of concept. So there's nothing worse than offering a restaurant food photography and having zero food photography to show them. So that's a first step, is whether you're at home doing it or you've done it at a restaurant on your own, or you took some pictures of some, your mom's really special Thanksgiving dinner or whatever it may be. Have something to show the person that you're going after exactly what you are capable of doing within their genre. If you show a restaurant portraits and ask them to translate it, like, oh, they took good pictures of people, I feel like they could probably figure out how to take good pictures of food, I think that gets lost amongst people that aren't in photography or aren't in the creative field. So have a good portfolio, at least a basic one of what you're trying to do. I think that's step number one. Step number two, and we had Nash. What was his first name?
Nash Hagen.
Nash was on the podcast, and follow his handle. I feel like he offers a lot of really good advice in terms of pitching and what's changed over the years. And even as a beginner, he's talking about big clients and big paydays. But even as a beginner, the important parts are return on investment. It no longer is super attractive to just say, like, I'll take content for you, or I'll make content for you, or I'll make pictures for you, or I'll do some video for you. There has to be a why, and what is your reasoning for wanting to do so. And in the example of the restaurant, I'm just going to stay in that theme. Maybe you pull up that restaurant's Google reviews, and the most reviewed review about their restaurant has really crummy pictures, and it's been seen by 100,000 people. You could bring that to them and say, hey, not only will I take photos, but I will review your restaurant in a positive light and add my photos to this. And within maybe a year, this review was done a year ago and it has 100,000 views. Maybe within a year, 100,000 people will see my review with these photos and be very attracted to your restaurant. Have a sales pitch on why this is a good idea versus just handing over a bunch of photos. I think that is a really key point. Even if we're talking about paid or free or getting in the door, pitch a reason and a return on investment for what you are doing. Give them some sort of case study of how this could work and how could this help their business. Because business people are business people. And if they say, hey, you can spend $10 to get 1,000, they're all ears. But if you say you can spend $10 for, I don't know what, they're going to go like, I don't really feel like spending $10. You have to give the reason why this is important and why it's a good idea. I'll stop there and let that marinate.
In other words, rather than saying you're paying $10 for these photos, you would say instead, you're paying $10 for this outcome via these videos.
Yeah.
I think that's really important. I'm actually on Nash's page as you were talking about him. And he kind of puts it, I'm paraphrasing, but brands were desperate for content a few years ago, just for anything. And reaching out was enough, is what he says. Now everyone is talking about themselves and brands don't care. They want ROI, not your resume. So obviously we've skipped some steps, right? We're talking about once you mentioned building that portfolio on your own time, that proof of concept. Mm-hmm. This comes after that, of course. But I wanted to touch on one thing as well. You mentioned you were describing how often it's a good sign that you have competence and you have some level of skill when family, friends start coming to you for visual asset services, whether that's video or photo. And that's kind of how you can cue in on, okay, maybe I'm starting to get a knack for this, and I'm maybe in the league for getting paid for this in the near future. I think it's also important to leverage your family and friends. You go to them as well. I get a friend who owns a restaurant. Okay, hey, can I come in? If it's beautiful, if it's a beautiful atmosphere and really good presentation on food. Hey, can I come in? Or your family member owns it's a coach for a hockey team. Can I come take some photos? Rather than honing your craft silently, which is and on your own time, which is of course a good thing to do, and waiting for people to take notice. Also, you go out to those people and leverage people who are in your inner circle, who are in positions that would build a very interesting portfolio. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think networking is probably going to be one of our points in terms of getting in the door places. That's a key thing. I think putting the value on getting in the door is important, and especially beginners. I wouldn't want you to think, I deserve to be paid right away. I think you got to be careful with that. I think like anything, before my career, I did a full year internship unpaid. So yeah, I did a lot of free work, and maybe that's part of the process, and it doesn't have to be forever, but some of the value is on, okay, I'm not getting paid, but I'll tell you what, this restaurant's decent and I'm going to get a really nice sponsorship in terms of like, I did photos for whatever, Max's Burger. What a great restaurant. Now I can say that I did that. Now I can tag them. Now I can show other restaurants that I have this. There's a lot of value in getting in the door in the beginning, where you want to make a good name for yourself, and then create this ability to show off your portfolio that's more than just your mom's Thanksgiving dinner, but actual restaurants and actual food in an actual place where they don't know if you were paid $1,000 or $10,000 to do this work. It just looks now, they trusted him and the photos are up. Good, cool. I think we feel more confident about doing this. It's not a nobody.
Yes.
So if you decide, I want to work in restaurants and food photography, then get moving on. A friend owns a restaurant. A friend knows a friend that owns a restaurant. A friend's a bartender. Get connections. Think about your networking, where you can get in to industry that you want to be photographing, and get some real life experience, number one, and portfolio work, number two, and leverage for down the road on how to translate that into money.
Incredible. Yeah. And you took the words right out of my mouth, because I've said this so many times on the show, that if you did the work for free or you did it for $1 million, they both look the same as a client on your website.
Right.
Nobody else knows. So
Right.
the perception is incredible. If in your example, you have a connection at a really fancy restaurant, walk in there, say, I'll take some photos for free. You don't have to do this forever. I think back to the scarcity brain thing. I think there's this weird trigger that happens where people don't realize I only have to do this once or twice.
Right.
And then I'm off to the races. This isn't a forever thing.
Right.
We can get caught in that, short-term thinking.
Yeah.
Or feeling like this sucks, I'm worth more than this. But if you stretch your horizon and you figure out this is just one evening or 2 evenings, and then I can go do my thing and start charging. It's a very, it's a pinprick in the hand. It's a little bit of pain, right? And I remember we had Chris Howe on the show. What was it, 2 years ago, 3 years ago? Wow. I can't remember. And he said, because he's done a ton of work, impressive work with Mercedes. I don't know if he still has recently or whatnot, but for a while there, he was, driving the coolest cars for Mercedes and taking them to these epic places like Iceland. And he said on the show, people can go back and listen to this, his first thing with them was shooting golf shirts. Mm-hmm. And he said, I shot golf shirts for Mercedes, and then I could put them as a client on my website.
Yeah.
So
I remember that.
Big creators or successful photographers, I feel like, understand this, that it doesn't matter the scope of the work or the payment. The value is in the short term. Okay, I'm doing this for free, but now look at this accolade I have that I can now use and leverage as social value or perceived value, and go around and I can pitch what I want to be paid.
Yeah, absolutely. And like my example on Google reviews, that's kind of it's a true story. This was something that came out of nothing. I did an extra for a restaurant and put a Google review with my photos. And now I constantly get dings in my email that your photos have 80,000 views. This photo has 70,000 views. I copy all of those. So that knowledge wasn't there in the beginning. So I'm telling you this now. Like, that's just an example, but a Google review works for any sort of business where you can create. What's that?
Didn't Ian teach us this? Ian Jones?
He might have. Yeah, he might have. That might be where it came from.
Going to listen and go, oh, you didn't credit me.
Oh, Ian, sorry. You've taught us everything we know. We owe it all to you, buddy. We owe it all to you.
And it hasn't even aired.
Yeah, he knows something. He felt it. He felt his name being called.
Disturbance in the force. He's like, something's not right.
Something's up. I wasn't credited. But that was because of a tip. Sure, now I'll give credit to Ian. But now I use that as proof of concept if I ever want to, reach out to a restaurant. It's like, here's what this can do. So I think those are all absolutely imperative and good tips for getting into the door. Being not so high on your high horse of I deserve to be paid, or so what, this is my first time doing a restaurant. I did a wedding for $5,000. It's unrelated in a sense. And I think every step is a new step that you have to kind of go through the process of, I need to prove myself, which is annoying, sure, but I need to get there. And then I'm off to the races, as Seth said. And then I can use this proof. I can use these experiences. I can use the credits to get in the door elsewhere and now create my packages.
What has come to mind as I'm thinking of, as I'm hearing all this, is that it'll be difficult to be upset about the fact that you're doing a lot of work for free if it's for family or friends. You'll feel better about giving your time and your expertise to people you care about. So maybe the antidote to all this is build your portfolio, your free work, with people who you care about, their businesses.
Yeah.
or their interests. And then it won't feel so shitty doing it for a company that's potentially going to make money. I think that's the rub, is when people feel like, oh, the company's going to make money off of it, and I don't even know them. It's a stranger. I'm just doing this because I need that portfolio. I need that proof of concept. How would you feel if it was just for somebody you cared about instead? So maybe that's just it. Maybe it's looking, as you said, into your network and seeing, okay, how can I go to give? How can I give in this relationship in a way that will make me feel good, but will also give me that proof of concept? And then I don't think you feel so bad doing the free work.
Yeah. And I also hope that the company does make money, because
it's someone you care about.
Or even not, even if you don't care about them, it's like, that's the goal. And if they do, you are golden. Like, that's the hardest thing to prove. True. I think, is like, hey, if photos are important, marketing's important. Why? It attracts more people. Okay, then what? Hopefully they spend money. Okay, how do we trace it back to your photo? Like, it's sometimes very hard to tie all the dots together, connect all the dots to show that my photos created a slight bump in revenue for the month. It's hard to connect to that. Yeah, it gets lost. So if there's a way to, or there's a big spike, or something went viral and it created a huge jump in visits to a shop, or whatever it may be, then wow, you have this sort of proof of concept, and one that worked really well and was very apparent to see.
Yeah. Okay. Let me ask you this.
Good.
What tools are you using to showcase to your clients that this worked? Or is it kind of up to them at this? Do you know what I'm asking you? Like, what are some strategies to make that not get lost in translation? Because you're right. There's so many things that can happen from the time you deliver a photo. Yeah. I have some thoughts. I think
Google review is a really nice way, because it's your specific photos, and it says 60,000 people looked at this review and photo. There you go. Like, hey, a beautiful review with a beautiful photo, 60,000 eyeballs were on it. There's nothing
hey, check this out. Thought you'd appreciate this.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's nothing that would deter them from going to your restaurant. There might be 60,000 eyeballs on a bad review with gross photos. That's not good. So I think that's a really good way to show exact data on what you have done. Now, if they throw up your photo on social media, one of 20 different posts for the month or week or whatever it may be, and you're one of them, it's hard to say that your photo drove any sort of content or people to their product. Right. It's hard to say.
Counting likes and plays, I feel, is archaic at this point, as well as a metric of being a successful photo or video.
Yeah. Hillary, who works at Gasho Park, she will mention, if we do a post on hot dogs, or glizzies as she calls them, there's an uptick in sales for hot dogs, and it brings people in for those specific things. So maybe learning from that, if you go to a restaurant that they're famous for their signature dish, maybe focus just on that. Don't spray photos of everything. Maybe you can sort of laser focus it down to, like, hey, I really put a nice spread and I made a creative reel about your special X, Y, and Z. How are sales for X, Y, and Z after that week? Everyone takes stats on their food sales. They need to, in terms of how they're buying food and selling it, and what are they ordering more? How much do they need to order? They take tons of stats on orders. So even if there's a tick of 10 orders more over the week after that post, 10 times profit of, I don't know, $15 a special, great. You guys made $150 off of that photo for free. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So wonderful.
I will say this too. Sometimes the ROI isn't money, though, right?
Sure.
Sometimes the return on investment is something entirely different. And, one thing I like to ask, I actually did this 2 days ago with one of my summer camp clients, because we made a bunch of cool reels for them. I just said, hey, what's the response been on that stuff I've helped create for you? Because it was the living space for the content was social media, was Instagram mainly, or I think maybe entirely. Just what's the response been? And I think that question, first of all, gets the other party thinking out loud and has them become aware of actually looking at ways that they can notice that the piece of content is doing its job. I feel like you may have some businesses or individuals, maybe particularly smaller ones, who just really don't know whether something has done well or bad because they're not really thinking about it in the right way. So I feel like prompting somebody with that question, number one, gets them to at least start doing a little bit of analyzing. And I don't even know if there's a number two, but I think just that in itself is valuable. Yeah. In this case, I asked it and she was like, oh yeah, we're getting tons of messages about this. Lots of sends, etc. So I think asking that question is another good way that you can go, just to, find out more. And then when someone says it back to you as well, especially in a meeting or a phone call, if you ask that question and someone says, oh, they're doing really well and this and that and X and Y and Z, I feel like that just strengthens their relationship as well.
Yeah. I think communication, trying to learn yourself how to help, right? Back to another one of our guests, Nooch, the way he approached photography with the band Goose is impressive and should be a book. It should be written. It should be a blueprint on, hey, if you want to succeed with any sort of company or group or like whatever it is, like read this memoir, because it wasn't just about photos. It wasn't just about, it was how can I fucking help you succeed? I'm here for you right now. How can I help you succeed? You don't have to pay me shit. I believe in your company. I believe in what you're doing. I want to be a part of it and I want to help. And if you have that attitude and you're willing to get whatever it takes and do whatever it takes to help them succeed, to a point, of course, he's not doing this for free anymore, but he's done a lot of stuff for just the goodness of the brand. And that's gone a long, long way for him and the band. So I think it's the same sort of thing when you're going in there trying to make a name for yourself. You are also working for a review. You're also working for the potential rehire. And if you go in with the attitude of like, this is free work, like I'm going to mail it in. They can get 10 photos, like whatever. They're probably going to make like $100 off each photo. Like I'm getting nothing. If you go in with that attitude, they're going to be like, hey, thanks for the photos, but that wasn't really a great experience. I'm not really going to recommend you to we have 4 other sister restaurants to stay on that theme. We have 4 other sister restaurants. Like, I'm not really going to recommend you. But if you go in there with like, hey, these are my 3 favorite dishes you do. I want to focus on that. I want to do a reel. I want to give a tour of the place. I'm going to work really, really hard and hand over a ton and help you with ideas. Maybe hey, do you have any questions about how to post or the best time to post or how to structure things? I noticed a few things with your social media. If you want any tips on that, I'm willing to help with that as well. If you really go in there with like, I'm trying to crush this, it's only going to be better for you. Because when they need stuff next time, who are they going to hire? The guy that's like, here's 10, thanks for the free work. Or the guy that was like, that guy put his all in for 2 full days and did everything possible that we asked him to and acted like he was being paid on salary.
Yeah, it's a good point. I just think the struggle with, I'm not disagreeing with you. The struggle in people's mind is, how do I know I'm not doing too much? I don't think it goes the opposite direction where it's like, how do I know this? Maybe it does. How do I know that this isn't enough? I think there's a real struggle to find what is the correct amount of effort and deliverables on this free gig, regardless of whether it's going to give me future work with this business or not.
Yeah.
How do you think you can help people navigate that in the moment?
I think set the bar of deliverables for free. Set the expectation kind of low. So maybe it is you're just saying like, I could easily get you 10 really good photos, and based on Google reviews or whatnot, I imagine these are going to get 100,000 views over the next 2 years. Okay, that sounds like a good deal for free. Great. Then it's easy to be like, you know what? I banged through these pretty quickly. I have probably 30 more that I can edit. I'm going to edit a good 20, and I'll leave 10 good ones just because I got to move on to my other life that's paid or whatever else. Like I got to move on, but I'm going to leave room to, oh, I said nothing about video, but while I was there, I took a couple of videos and made a pretty fancy reel. I'm going to impress that with the reel. So definitely under promise and over deliver to an extent. I don't think.
Right. So how do people know here is the stop? Here's the limit. Here's the limit before this is getting ridiculous, because I feel like that causes a lot of people anxiety.
Yeah, I feel like I'm having a deja vu. I feel like we talked about this exact thing, but I think maybe you're wearing the same exact outfit too. There's a line. I think you have to feel it in your gut. I can't be working for 5 days straight on a free project when I have a career and a kid to take care of and a dog. Like I just can't do that. But if the deal is like, hey, I'm going to come in, I'm going to make it reasonable. I'm going to make in my mind what feels like this will take me 2 hours of shooting, and in just this hypothetical world. Okay, I'm going to shoot for about 2 hours. If I shoot for 2 hours, I imagine I'll edit for about 2 hours. I feel like to me, it's kind of a 1-to-1 ratio.
Yeah,
if you're editing everything that you've gotten, it's not always 1-to-1 if you're doing just picking like your favorite 10 photos or whatever. Right. But if you can edit everything that you've got, it's about a 1-to-1. So I'm spending 2 hours. Now I can probably spend 2 hours editing a lot of these photos. That's 4 hours. Is that 4 hours worth it for me to truly feel like I can help this company? And I'm getting the name, I'm getting the portfolio, I'm getting the experience, I'm getting the connections, I'm getting the review. So those 5 things off the top of my head, is that worth my 4 hours of free work? It's not really free anymore when you look at those potential check marks where you can then use them to get paid work. So call it the law of averages, where this is free, but that's gotten you now 5 gigs at $1,000. So you have 5 over 6 gigs. You're making just under $1,000 every gig because of this one free one. It's the pre-work. It's the getting in the door. It's the creating the relationships, having them know your name. When they need something, they're going to think of, hey, this guy or girl was beautiful to work with. Awesome to work with, did a great job. They worked for free. I wonder what their rates are if they're really putting into it, you know? And I do think you don't want to be working forever. You don't want to be taken advantage of, but you want to give your best of what you can give in that time slot. Like you just want to kind of feel it and feel like, okay, you know, this is what we kind of agreed on. This is what we talked about. I want to go above and beyond a bit. I don't want to go above and beyond for 8 days, you know? Mm-hmm. I just want to kind of feel it out. I also do think the reception helps. The reception of content, I'm thinking about this now, also determines how much I continue to do stuff. If they get my first 10 photos, and they're like, holy crap, I've never seen photos like this. I didn't know photos could be this good of our restaurant. Thank you so much. I want to do 10 more. If they're like, oh, thanks. And I'm like, okay, well, you didn't really appreciate the fact that I'm doing this for free. maybe this is not a client like we're going to completely jive on. Maybe they don't like my style. Maybe they don't love it, but I'm not going to keep throwing photos down their throat just to like
me.
I'm more likely to do it if you're crazy about it. And then on top of that, sometimes you can turn free gigs into paid gigs where we all know we take a lot of photos. We all know we have tons of video clips. Maybe you can say like, hey, I've edited for a good amount of time. I just want you to know that I probably could make 4 more reels like this one with different clips that I've taken and different themes. With all due respect, I'm not going to edit those right now because I have to move on to another project. However, if you ever want those, because I already did the work, the shooting, we can come up with a really reasonable rate for me to edit those. So there's those little avenues too that are
concept right away, and then a quick follow up. Do you want more? Which is incredibly effective. A, if you've made great content, and B, they're ecstatic about it.
Yeah. So those are a couple more points. I think try to really do your all without overdoing it. But if you give yourself a time frame, I'm not sure there's much you like. Do as much as you can within that day. Like give yourself the full day to kick butt and be done with it. But in a day, in a 10-hour work day, you could get a lot of stuff done and really blow their socks off. And again, it's not about the money. There's other things that are of value as well. Just a small example too of like bartering a bit. Sometimes there is value in other things. Now, I did something for my favorite restaurant down the street. We have a good relationship. They were going to pay me. We were kind of going back and forth about price. And I said, hey, would it be better if you paid me in gift certificates for your restaurant? And of course it would.
Because now you can give them to other people, which gets more new customers in the door.
Sure. Or I could use them because I go there all the time.
Oh, selfish.
Yeah. But money is money. If I were to spend $500 at the restaurant versus $500 of gift certificates, either way, I'm spending $500. Now, you paying me $500 is different than you paying me $500 in gift certificates.
How so? This is where I'm confused.
For a restaurant, paying me $500 in gift certificates, they mark up their food. So their cost is less for what they're doing. They're paying $25 for the steak dinner. I'm paying $50.
Okay.
Right? So they're giving me a gift certificate, which is kind of like fake money. Not to me, but to them. It's half price for them.
I don't follow, but I trust you.
If they give me a piece of paper that says this is worth $500, but they're paying $250 for the food, I'm using that $500 to buy their $250 worth of food. So they're essentially paying $250 and I'm receiving $500 because I would use it there anyways. My own money, I would use there anyways. So they're getting a deal just by paying me in cost, essentially.
This is why Aaron does all the accounting for our business.
Maybe I'm thinking of that wrong. Please chime in if I'm...
Somebody let us know if this math is mathing.
Someone's like, yeah, Aaron, you're getting ripped off completely.
Well, you sound confident.
I am confident about it.
I am not confident with that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying I do not follow, and I'm being entirely honest about it.
Yeah. Well, look at it a different way. Say you really want like a pair of skis and you're like, okay, I would do these photos of skis for $1,000. And you're like, well, I'm going to turn around with that $1,000 and buy these skis. The company could go like, can we just give you the skis? Because they cost us $400 versus can we pay you $1,000 for you to pay the ski shop $1,000?
But doesn't it just cancel out then? Because then they still have their markup.
Yeah, if I go there though.
They give me the
if I go there,
they're making zero, right? Because they're giving me the skis at cost.
Yeah, that requires me to go there.
Oh, I guess so. Right.
Right. Right.
Right. Because you could take your 500 and just not go there.
Yeah, I just put it in savings or whatever.
So, right. The guarantee is that the money goes back to them.
Yeah. And at cost.
Well, that math's in my head.
Sorry, everyone, for that.
You might be. I don't know. I'm not the math guy. I said it. You're the accounting guy.
Yeah. That's why we get letters about our business being shut down every couple of months.
You make it seem like we're doing shady stuff. We just forgot to refile.
No, we just got a reminder to refile. It's a yearly thing. Well, we're good for the next 2 years.
Okay.
Which is wonderful.
Yeah. I think all of the, just to, again, to say this, I think all the concerns about, am I doing too much? This is lame. It's free work. I'm not getting paid. Just even if you have the long-term in mind, those short-term thoughts can creep in. I think a lot of it goes away if you're doing work for people, the free work for people you care about. I'm not saying that's all you have to do, but I'm saying it's a good antidote to some of those toxic thoughts. And it's another good reason to expand your circle. And talk to people, build relationships, try and really work at seeing if, new people would be good friends. That's something that I've been considering a lot. Is just, of course, I'm a quality over quantity type person, but I'm always trying to see, is this somebody who I would like to let into my inner circle? It's just not for my own personal gain, just to better the experience of life. But, there's positive consequences to that kind of stuff as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think networking is huge in all of this, whether it's the free work or for the rest of your photography career, is talking, letting people know, hearing people, looking for opportunities to, again, help and offer a service, and hopefully in a way that helps them and helps you. And then it's all good. And again, it's not to just, siphon off of people. It's to literally get to know people and just be like, oh, you do that? Like, if you ever need this, I'm your guy, and then that opens
You're
up.
to pay somebody else to do it anyways.
Yeah.
Why not work with somebody you like on top of it? That's how I feel about most things.
For sure. And a warm introduction versus a cold call I wonder what the stats are on someone like, hey, I know this guy. He's really talented. If you ever need photography, versus a stranger reaching out, being like, I can do photography. It's gotta be.
I am usually 100% confident about a warm pitch, warm call.
Yeah.
And rightfully so, not as confident about the cold ones. Just the hot ones, I'm like, if this makes sense, this is going to happen. If they have a need, it's going to happen. Which I think, having that level of confidence as well is helpful. Mm-hmm. Did we cover everything today? You think this was a good, well-rounded?
I think so, except for my math example. That took us off the rails for a bit, but
with the math, let us know in the comments if that maths. You can do that on Spotify. You can write in the comments, just say it mathed or it did not math.
It maths. Maths for me.
Well, till next time, man. If you like this episode, feel free to leave a rating, review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can also leave a donation on PayPal for any amount you feel is equal to the value you receive from this or any of our other episodes. Of course, we'll always do these for free, but that option is always there. And you can subscribe on YouTube if you'd like to stimulate your eyeballs instead of just your ears. That's all I got for today, man. Till next week.
Yeah. Take care.